The rain fell softly on the streets of Seoul as a black vehicle stopped in front of a small convenience store. Inside the vehicle sat Emperor Vectrin, his tall frame barely fitting in the human transport. His skin shimmered with a faint blue hue beneath the holographic disguise he wore. Next to him, his daughter Lyra pressed herself against the window, her small hands trembling. "This is where you will stay," Vectrin said, his voice cold and measured. He did not look at her when he spoke. Lyra swallowed hard. Through the rain-streaked window, she could see the tiny store with its bright lights and colorful signs. Above it, there was a small apartment with a single window. It looked nothing like the crystal palaces of her home world. "Father, I do not understand," she whispered. "Why must I stay here with them?" Vectrin finally turned to face her. His eyes were like chips of ice. "You are weak, Lyra. You shame our empire with your fear and your tears. These humans are a primitive species, barely capable of space travel. You will live among them for 6 months and see how pathetic they are. Then, you will understand why the Althan way is superior, why strength and discipline matter, why emotions make you vulnerable." Lyra felt her chest tighten. She wanted to argue, to tell him she would try harder, but the words stuck in her throat. She had always been this way, silent, afraid, different from the other Althan children who stood tall and proud. "You will report to me every week," Vectrin continued. "You have your communicator and your disguise projector. Do not reveal your true form. Learn their language through the implant we gave you. Observe them. See how they struggle and fight among themselves. See how their weakness destroys them. Then you will return home, ready to be a proper Althan princess." He pressed a button, and the door slid open. Rain immediately began to soak Lyra's dark hair. She clutched a small bag containing everything she owned and stepped out onto the wet pavement. The vehicle left without another word. Lyra stood alone on the street, water running down her face, mixing with tears. She was not supposed to cry. Her people did not cry. Crying was for the weak. The door of the convenience store opened, and a man stepped out. He was middle-aged, with kind eyes and messy hair. He held an umbrella and immediately came over to shield Lyra from the rain. "You must be the exchange student," he said in Korean. The implant in Lyra's brain translated his words instantly. "I am Daehyun. Come inside. You are getting soaked." Lyra followed him into the store. It was small and cramped, filled with shelves of strange products in bright packages. Everything smelled different. Sweet and spicy, and completely foreign. She stood near the door, dripping water onto the floor, not knowing what to do. "Jiho, Hana," Daehyun called toward the back of the store. "Our guest is here." 2 teenagers appeared from behind a curtain. The boy was tall and lanky with a warm smile. The girl was younger, shorter, with bright eyes full of curiosity. "This is my son Jiho and my daughter Hana," Daehyun said. "They will help you adjust. Jiho, show her to the apartment upstairs." Jiho grabbed Lyra's wet bag and gestured for her to follow. "Come on. You must be tired from traveling." Lyra nodded, but did not speak. She followed Jiho up a narrow staircase at the side of the building. Her legs felt heavy, like she was walking through deep water. Everything was wrong. The smells, the sounds, the way these humans looked at her with such openness. On her world, people kept their distance. Emotions were private. Weakness was hidden. The apartment was tiny. One main room with a small kitchen area, a bathroom, and a sleeping mat in the corner. But it was clean and warm. Someone had put fresh flowers in a cup on the table. "My dad prepared everything," Jiho said, setting down her bag. "If you need anything, we are right downstairs. Do not worry about bothering us. That is what we are here for." Lyra stared at him. Why was he being kind? What did he want from her? "You should rest," Jiho continued. Tomorrow Hana will take you shopping for school supplies. You start classes next week. He paused at the door. Oh. And if you get hungry, come down to the store. Food is important. Do not skip meals. After he left, Lyra stood in the center of the room for a long time. She activated her communicator, and her father's face appeared in holographic form. Report, he commanded. I have arrived. The humans placed me in a dwelling above their commercial establishment. It is small and primitive. Good. Remember why you are there. Observe their weakness. In 6 months, you will return home stronger and wiser. Do not disappoint me again. Lyra. The communication ended. Lyra sat down on the sleeping mat and pulled her knees to her chest. She was alone on an alien world, surrounded by strangers who smiled too much and spoke too freely. Her father expected her to see their weakness, but all she felt was her own. The next morning, Hana burst into the apartment without knocking. She was holding bags of food and grinning widely. Good morning. Dad sent breakfast. We did not know what you liked, so we brought everything. She spread out the containers on the table. Rice, soup, vegetables, fish, eggs, and many things Lyra could not identify. The smells made her stomach hurt. She had barely eaten on the ship, too nervous to keep anything down. Come on, you have to eat something, Hana insisted, sitting down and gesturing to the food. Try this. It is my favorite. Lyra carefully sat down across from her. She picked up the metal sticks Hana was using, but they immediately slipped from her fingers and clattered on the table. Hana laughed, but it was not a cruel laugh. Chopsticks are hard. Here, use a spoon instead. No one will judge you. She handed Lyra a spoon and showed her which dishes were mild and which were spicy. Lyra took a small bite of rice and vegetables. It tasted strange, but not bad. Hana kept talking the whole time, asking questions about where Lyra was from, what she liked to do, if she had any siblings. Lyra gave short, quiet answers. She was not used to this much attention. In the Althan court, children were seen but not heard. Conversations were formal and brief, but Hana did not seem to mind Lyra's silence. She filled the empty spaces with her own chatter, making the room feel less lonely. After breakfast, Hana dragged Lyra to the market. They walked through crowded streets filled with people selling food, clothes, and household items. Everyone was talking and laughing and bargaining. It was chaos compared to the ordered silence of Althan cities. At one point, Lyra accidentally bumped into a display of cups. They fell and shattered on the ground. She froze, waiting for punishment. On her world, such clumsiness would result in severe consequences, but the shop owner just waved his hand. No problem, no problem. Accidents happen. Hana helped clean up the broken pieces. Are you okay? You look scared. Lyra nodded, but her hands were shaking. These humans confused her. They should be angry. They should demand payment or apology. Instead, they smiled and moved on. That evening, Daehyun invited Lyra to eat dinner with the family in the small room behind the store. They sat around a low table, passing dishes and talking over each other. Jiho told a funny story about school. Hana complained about homework. Daehyun listened and asked questions and sometimes reached over to add more food to their plates. Lyra sat quietly, watching them. This was family? This chaos and noise and laughter? It was nothing like the formal dinners with her father, where silence was expected and emotions were controlled. Lyra, you are not eating enough, Daehyun said gently. Please have more. Growing girls need strength. He put more food on her plate without waiting for an answer. It was such a small gesture, but something about it made Lyra's throat feel tight. When was the last time someone had cared if she ate enough? That night, alone in her apartment, Lyra stood at the window looking down at the street. The store lights were still on. Through the window, she could see Jiho helping his father stock shelves while Hana did homework at the counter. She activated her communicator. "The humans are not what I expected," she whispered into the device, recording a message for her father. "They are loud and chaotic and inefficient. But they are also—" She paused, searching for the right word. "Kind." She deleted the message before sending it. Her father would not understand. Kindness was not strength. Emotions were not power. She was here to learn that lesson. But as she lay down to sleep, Lyra found herself thinking about Hana's laugh and Jiho's smile, and the way Dae-hyun had made sure she had enough food. Perhaps 6 months would not be as terrible as she feared. The school building looked enormous to Lyra. She stood at the gates watching hundreds of students pour through the entrance, all wearing the same uniform, all talking and laughing with their friends. Her hands gripped the straps of her new backpack so tightly, her knuckles turned white. "You will be fine," Jiho said beside her. He had offered to walk with her on the first day. "Stay close to me until you know your way around." Lyra followed him through the crowded hallways. Students stared at her as they passed. She knew her disguise made her look human, but she still felt exposed. What if they could sense she was different? What if they knew she did not belong? Jiho led her to her classroom and introduced her to the teacher. "This is Lyra. She is the exchange student from abroad." The teacher smiled warmly. "Welcome, Lyra. Please take the empty seat by the window." Lyra sat down and immediately fixed her eyes on the desk. She could feel other students looking at her, whispering. Her heart pounded so hard, she worried they might hear it. The morning classes passed in a blur. The lessons were simple enough. The implant helped her understand the language, though some idioms and slang still confused her. But the real challenge was everything else. When to speak, when to stay silent, how close to sit to others, how to interpret their facial expressions and body language. When lunchtime came, Lyra took her empty bag and went to sit under a tree in the corner of the schoolyard. She had no money for food and did not know how the cafeteria worked. It was easier to just hide. She watched the other students gather in groups, sharing food and phones and secrets. On her world, meals were solitary affairs. Everyone ate alone in their quarters. This constant socializing exhausted her just to watch. "Why are you not eating?" Lyra looked up to find Jiho standing over her. He sat down without waiting for an invitation and opened his lunchbox. "I am not hungry," she lied. Jiho raised an eyebrow. "You did not eat breakfast either. I saw you give your food to Hana when she was not looking." He pulled out a second container from his bag. "My dad always packs too much. Help me finish this or he will be sad." Lyra stared at the container. Inside was rice, seasoned vegetables, rolled eggs, and small pieces of meat. It smelled wonderful. "I cannot take your food," she said quietly. "You are not taking it. I am sharing it. There is a difference." Jiho placed the container in her hands. "Eat, please." Lyra ate slowly, trying not to show how hungry she actually was. Jiho asked her simple questions while they ate. What subjects did she like? Had she explored the neighborhood yet? Did she need help with homework? His kindness confused her. They barely knew each other. Why did he care? A girl with paint-stained fingers approached them. She had an art portfolio under her arm and curious eyes. "So you are the mysterious transfer student everyone is talking about," she said, sitting down next to Jiho. "I am Suji. I sit 2 rows behind you in class." Lyra nodded but did not know what else to say. "Suji is the best artist in our grade," Jiho explained. "She is working on a portfolio for art school." "Do you like art?" Suji asked. "I do not know," Lyra admitted. "We did not have art on where I am from." Suji's eyes widened. "No art? That is terrible. Art is what makes life beautiful. You should come to art club after school sometime." Before Lyra could respond, a tall boy appeared and sat down heavily beside them. He had a serious face and sharp eyes that studied Lyra carefully. "This is Taeyang," Jiho said. "He is Hana's friend." "Well, More like her self-appointed bodyguard. Someone has to watch out for her, Taeyang said. His gaze did not leave Lyra. So you are living above their store? Yes, Lyra said quietly. Just making sure you know, Taeyang said slowly. Daehyun and his family are good people. The best. If you cause them any trouble, you will answer to me. Taeyang! Jiho protested. I am just being honest. Taeyang crossed his arms. We look out for each other. In this neighborhood, Lyra understood his suspicion. He was protecting his friend's family. On her world, such loyalty was rare. People served the Empire, not each other. I will not cause trouble, Lyra promised. The days turned into weeks. Lyra fell into a rhythm. Wake up, go to school, sit quietly in class, eat lunch with Jiho and his friends, return home, do homework, eat dinner with Daehyun's family, sleep, report to her father once a week. Her father always asked the same questions. Had she seen humans fighting? Had she witnessed their selfishness? Had she learned how emotions made them weak? Lyra did not know how to answer. She had seen students argue, yes, but they always made up later. She had seen people rush past each other on busy streets. But she had also seen strangers help each other carry heavy bags. She had seen tears, but they were not always from weakness. Sometimes people cried at graduations or reunions, or when reading touching stories. One afternoon, Hana dragged Lyra to a street food stall after school. You have to try tteokbokki. It is my favorite thing in the whole world. The vendor handed them a paper cup filled with bright red rice cakes and spicy sauce. Hana ate hers quickly, humming with happiness. Lyra took a small bite, and immediately, her mouth caught fire. Spicy, she gasped, her eyes watering. Hana laughed and handed her a cup of sweet drink. Drink this. It helps. You will get used to the spice. Then, you will love it. Lyra took another bite, prepared this time. The burn was still there, but underneath it she could taste something rich and savory and almost addictive. She ate another bite. Then another. See? Hana grinned. I knew you would like it. They sat on a bench, eating their snacks and watching people pass by. Hana talked about her day, about a test she failed, about a boy she thought was cute, about a fight she had with Taeyang over something stupid. Lyra listened, fascinated. Hana shared everything so freely. She did not hide her feelings or worry about appearing weak. She just existed, fully and completely herself. You are very quiet, Hana said suddenly. You do not have to be, you know. Not with us. I am used to being quiet, Lyra said. Well, get unused to it. Hana bumped her shoulder playfully. We are friends now. Friends talk to each other. Friends. Lyra had never had a friend before. The concept was foreign to Althan culture. You had allies, servants, political connections, but not friends. I would like that, Lyra said softly. That evening, something happened that changed everything. Lyra woke in the middle of the night feeling terrible. Her head throbbed. Her stomach churned. Her body ached in ways she had never experienced. She tried to stand but collapsed on the floor. She must have made a noise because within minutes, someone was pounding on her door. Lyra? Are you okay? It was Daehyun's voice. She managed to unlock the door before another wave of pain hit her. Daehyun rushed in and found her curled on the floor. You are burning up, he said, touching her forehead. He did not ask questions. He just scooped her up, like she weighed nothing, and carried her down to his apartment, behind the store. He laid her on his own bed and brought cool cloths for her head. He made her drink water. He called a doctor friend who came and examined her. Just a virus, the doctor said. It will pass. Keep her hydrated and let her rest. But Daehyun did not leave. He stayed up all night, changing the cool cloths, helping her sip water, adjusting blankets when she shivered. Sometimes he just sat beside the bed, reading a book by lamplight, making sure she was not alone. Through her feverish haze, Lyra watched him. This human man, who owed her nothing, who barely knew her. Yet he cared for her like she mattered, like she was precious. On her world, when children got sick, they were sent to medical facilities and treated by professionals. Parents did not sit vigil. That was seen as unnecessary emotional attachment, weakness. But lying there, feeling Daehyun's gentle hand adjusting her blanket, Lyra felt something she had never felt before. Safe, protected, cared for. By morning, her fever had broken. She woke to find Daehyun asleep in the chair beside her bed, his head tilted at an uncomfortable angle. Jiho was there too, covering his father with a blanket. "How do you feel?" Jiho whispered when he saw her eyes open. "Better," Lyra croaked. "Good." Dad was really worried. He has not slept at all. Lyra looked at Daehyun's sleeping face. There were dark circles under his eyes. His clothes were rumpled. He had sacrificed his comfort, his sleep, his own bed for her. "Why?" Lyra asked. Jiho looked confused. "Why what? Why did he do this?" "I am no one to him." Jiho smiled gently. "You are not no one. You are living under our roof. That makes you family. And we take care of family." Family. That word again. But this time, it meant something different than it ever had before. When Lyra reported to her father that week, she hesitated before speaking. "The humans are strange," she finally said. "They waste energy on emotions. They cry when sad and laugh when happy. They care for each other, even when there is no logical benefit." "Exactly," her father said, sounding pleased. "You are learning. Emotions make them weak and inefficient. Imagine how much stronger they could be if they controlled themselves like we do." Lyra nodded. But she was not sure she agreed anymore. She had been sick and alone and afraid, and it was emotion that saved her. Daehyun's compassion, Jiho's concern, even Hana, who brought her favorite foods and sat with her telling silly stories to make her laugh. Maybe emotions were not weakness. Maybe they were something else entirely, but she was not ready to say that to her father yet. She was not ready to admit that everything she had been taught might be wrong. So she stayed quiet and nodded and ended the call. Then she went downstairs where Hana was waiting to teach her a card game, and Jiho was making tea, and Daehyun was humming while organizing shelves. She was beginning to understand what home felt like. And it terrified her. 3 months had passed since Lyra arrived on Earth. She no longer jumped at sudden noises. She no longer felt lost walking through the crowded streets. She had learned which side of the sidewalk to walk on, how to order food, how to laugh at jokes even when she did not fully understand them. The change happened so gradually that she did not notice it at first. But one morning, she woke up and realized she had not thought about her home world in days. The crystal towers and silent halls felt like a dream. This tiny apartment above a convenience store felt real. "Lyra, hurry up or we will be late," Hana's voice called from outside. Lyra grabbed her bag and rushed out. Hana was waiting at the bottom of the stairs, bouncing impatiently. They walked to school together now every morning. Hana talked. Lyra listened. Sometimes Lyra even talked back. "The school festival is next month," Hana said excitedly. "Our class is doing a cafe. Suji is in charge of decorations. She asked if you would help." "Me?" Lyra felt a flutter of nervousness. "I do not know anything about decorating." "That is okay." Suji says, "You have a good eye for colors. She noticed how you always arrange things in interesting ways. The rents of the Presed were on B and studied. Suji says you have a good eye for colors." It was true. Lyra often reorganized items in the store when it was quiet, creating patterns and color gradients that pleased her. Daehyun had noticed and started asking her opinion on product displays. "I will think about it," Lyra said. At lunch, Suji spread her sketches across their usual spot under the tree. I want the cafe to feel magical. Like stepping into another world. What do you think? Lyra studied the drawings. They were beautiful, but safe. Predictable. On her world, art followed strict mathematical principles. Perfect symmetry. Precise ratios. But here, she had learned that humans liked asymmetry. Chaos. Unexpected beauty. What if, Lyra said slowly, you mixed the patterns, used colors that should not work together, but somehow do? Suji's eyes lit up. Lyra took a pencil and began sketching. Her hands moved without thinking, combining curves and angles, warm and cool colors, order and disorder. When she finished, everyone was staring. That is incredible, Jiho said. Where did you learn to do that? Taeyang asked, his usual suspicion replaced by genuine curiosity. Lyra looked down at her drawing. She had used principles from Althan architecture but applied them in human ways. It was something new. Something that belonged to neither world, but somehow to both. I just felt it, she said honestly. The school festival became Lyra's focus for the next few weeks. She worked with Suji every afternoon, transforming the classroom into something extraordinary. They hung lights at different heights, creating layers of shadow and illumination. They mixed fabrics and papers and natural materials in ways that should have clashed, but created harmony instead. Other students started stopping by to watch. Some offered help. Others just wanted to see what the quiet transfer student and the artist were creating. You are really talented, a girl named Minji said, watching Lyra arrange flowers. Lyra felt warmth spread through her chest. Pride. Belonging. Dangerous feelings for an Althan. But she could not help herself. One afternoon, Jiho showed up at the school on his bicycle. Come on. I have something to show you. He led her to a park Lyra had never visited. It had a wide, flat path, perfect for cycling. Jiho had brought an extra bike. You ride bicycles? Lyra asked. Everyone rides bicycles. Come on, I will teach you. Lyra stared at the machine with its two thin wheels and hard seat. It looked impossible. I do not think I can. Minisi, you do not know until you try. Jiho spent an hour running beside her, holding the bike steady while she pedaled. She fell 4 times. Each time, she felt the familiar shame rise up. On her world, failure was unacceptable. You succeeded or you did not try at all. But Jiho just helped her up, checked for injuries, and encouraged her to try again. Everyone falls when learning, he said. That is how you get better. On the 5th attempt, something clicked. Lyra found her balance and suddenly she was gliding forward on her own. The wind hit her face. The world blurred past. She felt weightless and powerful and completely terrified. I am doing it, she shouted. Jiho ran behind her, laughing. Yes. Keep pedaling. When she finally stopped, she was breathing hard and her legs ached, and she had scraped her knee in one of her falls. But she was smiling. Really, truly smiling. That was amazing, she said. Jiho grinned. Told you. Want to go again? They spent the rest of the afternoon cycling around the park. Sometimes Lyra would lose balance and wobble, but she no longer feared falling. Each mistake taught her something. Each failure made her stronger. That evening at dinner, Lyra told Daehyun and Hana about learning to ride. She used her hands to demonstrate, her words tumbling over each other in excitement. Halfway through the story, she realized she was talking more than she ever had before. Hana noticed too. You are so much more open now. When you first arrived, you barely said 3 words. I was afraid, Lyra admitted. Of what? Daehyun asked gently. Of everything. Of being wrong. Of being weak. Of not being good enough. Daehyun reached over and patted her hand. You were always good enough. You just needed time to see it. That night, Lyra activated her communicator for her weekly report. Her father's face appeared, stern, as always. Report. The humans are. Lyra paused. How could she explain what she had learned? They fall down a lot. Her father's expression hardened. Exactly. They are clumsy and inefficient. No, Lyra said quietly. They fall down, and then they get back up. They fail, and try again. They are not afraid of making mistakes because mistakes teach them. Is that not a kind of strength? Silence. Her father stared at her through the hologram. You sound like them, he finally said, his voice cold. Maybe that is not a bad thing. We will discuss this when you return. Do not forget who you are, Lyra. Do not forget your duty. The communication ended abruptly. Lyra sat in the dark, her heart pounding. She had never contradicted her father before, never questioned the Althan way, but she could not help it anymore. The next week, something happened that forced Lyra to make a choice. She was walking home from school with Hana when they passed a group of older boys. One of them said something crude. Hana ignored them and kept walking, but the boys followed. Hey, I am talking to you. Just keep walking, Hana whispered to Lyra, but the boys blocked their path. The leader stepped forward, too close. You think you are too good to answer me? Leave us alone, Hana said firmly. The boy laughed and reached out to grab Hana's arm. Everything happened very fast. Lyra's body moved before her mind caught up. She stepped between them and caught the boy's wrist. She forgot, just for a moment, to control her strength. The boy yelped and stumbled backward. His friends stared. Lyra had barely squeezed, but her Althan strength was 3 times that of a human. The boy was cradling his wrist, eyes wide with shock and pain. What are you? He whispered. The boys ran. Hana stood frozen, staring at Lyra. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Hana, I can explain. You are not human, Hana said. It was not a question. Lyra felt her world collapsing. Please. You cannot tell anyone. Please. Hana grabbed her hand and pulled her into an alley away from the street. Show me your real face. With shaking hands, Lyra deactivated her holographic disguise. Her skin shifted to its natural pale blue. Her eyes became larger. The irises, a deep violet. Her features sharpened, becoming more angular. Hana stared. Then, slowly, she smiled. You are beautiful. You are not afraid? Afraid? Lyra, you just protected me from those jerks. Why would I be afraid? Hana touched Lyra's blue cheek gently. You are still you. You are still my friend. Tears welled up in Lyra's eyes. On her world, crying was forbidden. But here, with Hana looking at her true face with acceptance and kindness, Lyra could not stop them. I am sorry I lied. Lyra sobbed. You did not lie. You just did not tell me everything. That is different. Hana hugged her. Come on. Let us go home. You should tell my dad and Jiho too. They deserve to know. That evening, Lyra sat in the small room behind the store and told them everything. About her father. About the Empire. About the test she was supposed to pass. About how she was sent here to learn that humans were weak and inferior. When she finished, she waited for anger, for rejection, for them to tell her to leave. Instead, Jiho laughed. You came here to see how weak we are? He shook his head. How is that working out? I was wrong, Lyra whispered. My father was wrong. You are not weak. You are the strongest people I have ever met. Daehyun stood and pulled Lyra into a hug. But everything had changed. Lyra had crossed a line she could not uncross. She had chosen these humans over her father's mission. She had let herself care. Let herself belong. Let herself love. And she knew, deep in her heart, that when her father returned to collect her, she would not want to leave. The question was, what she would do about it. 6 months had passed like water through fingers. Lyra stood in front of the mirror in her small apartment, looking at her reflection. She wore a simple dress that Hana had helped her pick out for the school festival. Her holographic disguise was active, making her appear human, but underneath she knew what she really was. The problem was, she no longer knew where she belonged. The school festival had been a success. Their cafe had won first prize for decorations. Suji had cried happy tears and hugged Lyra so tightly she could barely breathe. Students who had never spoken to her before came up to compliment her work. For one perfect day, Lyra had felt completely normal. But that was yesterday. Today, everything changed. Her communicator buzzed. She had been dreading this moment for weeks. Emperor Vectrin's face appeared, larger and more solid than usual. I arrive tomorrow evening. Prepare yourself. Tomorrow? Lyra's voice came out small. But I thought, the mission is complete. 6 months. That was our agreement. I expect you to be ready to depart immediately. Father, please. Can I have more time? I am learning so much. You have learned enough. His voice was ice. I will see you tomorrow. We have much to discuss about your future and your duty to the Empire. The hologram vanished. Lyra sat on her bed, her whole body shaking. Tomorrow. She had one more day. She found Dae-hyun in the store, organizing shelves. When he saw her face, he immediately stopped working. What is wrong? My father is coming tomorrow. He is taking me home. Dae-hyun's expression fell. He pulled her into the back room where they could talk privately. I knew this day would come. But I hoped. He sighed. What do you want to do? I do not know. I should want to go home. I should be happy to return to my world. But I am not. Lyra's voice cracked. I do not want to leave. I do not want to leave you and Jiho and Hana. I do not want to leave this life. Unfaced great, then tell your father that. You do not understand. On my world, you do not say no to the Emperor, especially not if you are his daughter. Duty comes before personal desires. Always. Dae-hyun placed his hands on her shoulders. Lyra, listen to me. You are not just some soldier following orders. You are a person with your own heart and mind. What you want matters. Your happiness matters. In your world, maybe. Not in mine. That evening, Lyra told Jiho and Hana the news. Hana cried immediately, which made Lyra cry, which made Hana cry harder. Jiho tried to stay strong, but his eyes were red. Maybe you can visit? Hana suggested desperately. Maybe you can come back sometimes? Lyra shook her head. My father will not allow it. Once I return, I will take my place in the court. I will be trained for my duties as princess. I will not be permitted to leave again. That is not fair, Hana shouted. You should get to choose your own life. Many things are not fair, Lyra said quietly. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood. The next day, people kept stopping by the store to say goodbye. Suji brought a painting she had made of Lyra. Taeyang, who had finally warmed up to her, gave her a bracelet he said was for protection. Even Minji and other classmates came to wish her well. You changed our class, Minji said. You made us think differently about things. Thank you. Evening came too quickly. Lyra stood outside the store, her small bag packed with the few possessions she would take with her. The rest, she was leaving behind. This tiny apartment had been her home for half a year. Now it would be empty again. A sleek black vehicle appeared at the end of the street. It did not look like any human car. Lyra's heart began to race. The vehicle stopped in front of the store. The door opened, and Emperor Vectrin stepped out, flanked by 2 guards. He was tall and imposing, his holographic disguise barely concealing his otherworldly presence. His eyes swept over the humble street with barely concealed disdain. Then, his gaze landed on Lyra. She stood straighter, falling into old habits. Be silent. Be still. Show no emotion. Lyra, it is time. Before she could respond, Daehyun stepped forward. Jiho and Hana stood beside him, forming a wall of protection around her. You must be Lyra's father, Daehyun said. His voice was polite but firm. Please, come inside. We have prepared dinner. You have traveled far. You should eat before your journey home. Vectrin looked at this human man with surprise. No one invited the Emperor anywhere. The Emperor commanded, and others obeyed. That will not be necessary, Vectrin said coldly. I insist, Daehyun replied. Lyra has lived under my roof for 6 months. That makes her family. And in our culture, we do not let family leave without a proper farewell. The word, family, made Vectrin's expression harden. He glanced at Lyra, noting how she stood close to these humans, how her eyes kept darting to them for support. Very well, he said finally. A brief meal. They crowded into the small room behind the store. The table was set with extra care. Hana had made all of Lyra's favorite dishes. The smell of home cooking filled the space. Vectrin sat stiffly, clearly uncomfortable. His guards remained standing. The contrast was stark. On one side, a powerful emperor in perfect posture, radiating control and authority. On the other, a simple human family, warm and open and messy with emotion. Daehyun served food and tried to make conversation. Lyra has been a wonderful addition to our home. She is kind and helpful. She has grown so much during her time here. Growth, Vectrin repeated. Yes, that was the purpose of her visit. To see how humans live and understand why the Althan way is superior. Awkward silence fell. Jiho spoke up. With respect, sir, I do not think that is what Lyra learned. Vectrin's eyes narrowed. Explain. Jiho glanced at Lyra, who gave him a tiny nod. She learned that strength comes in many forms, that caring for others is not weakness, that community and connection make people stronger, not weaker. And who are you to lecture me on strength? Vectrin's voice dropped dangerously low. I command an empire that spans multiple systems. I control technologies you cannot imagine. I make decisions that affect billions of lives. What do you command? A small store on a backward planet? Daehyun met his gaze calmly. I do not command anything. I serve my community. I raise my children with love. I help my neighbors when they struggle. You call it weakness, but I call it purpose. Purpose. Vectrin stood abruptly. Let me tell you about purpose. My purpose is to expand the Althan Empire, to bring order to chaos, to show lesser species the benefits of our way of life. Lesser species? Hana's voice was sharp. Is that what you think we are? It is what you are, Vectrin said flatly. He pulled out a small device and activated it. Holographic images filled the room. Star maps, military configurations, battle plans. This, Vectrin said, gesturing to the displays, is the real reason I sent Lyra here. Not just to observe humans, but to evaluate Earth for integration into the Empire. Your world has resources we need. Your location is strategically valuable. Lyra's mission was to confirm what I already suspected, that humans are too weak, too divided, too emotional, to resist. Lyra felt like she had been struck. No. You said this was about teaching me. You said, I said what I needed to say. Vectrin looked at her without warmth. Did you truly think I would waste 6 months just to teach you a lesson? Everything serves the Empire, Lyra. Even you. The room erupted, Hana shouted. Jiho demanded answers. Daehyun tried to calm everyone down, but Lyra just stared at her father, understanding flooding through her. She had never been sent here to learn. She had been sent here to spy. Every report she made, every observation she shared, had been used to plan an invasion. You used me, she whispered. I used a resource, as any good leader would. Vectrin deactivated the hologram. Now it is time to go. You have served your purpose. The invasion fleet will arrive within the year. No. Lyra's voice was quiet but steady. Vectrin turned slowly. What did you say? I said no. Lyra stood, her legs shaking but her resolve firm. I will not let you do this. These people are not resources. They are not lesser. They are my friends. My family. Family? Vectrin's laugh was harsh. They are your mission. Nothing more. Then the mission is over. I choose them. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Vectrin's expression became stone. You choose them over your own empire? Over your own blood? Over your duty? As princess? Yes. For a long moment, no one moved. The guards moved forward. Daehyun stepped in front of Lyra. You will not touch her. You dare command me? Vectrin's power radiated from him like heat. I could destroy this entire building with a thought. I could level this city. You are insects, presuming to negotiate with a god. Then I guess insects have more courage than gods, Daehyun said quietly. Because we stand here anyway. Jiho and Hana moved to stand beside their father. Then, to everyone's surprise, the door opened, and more people entered. Suji, Taeyang, neighbors, classmates. They filed into the small room and the street outside, forming a silent wall of bodies. What is this? Vectrin demanded. This is community, Daehyun answered. This is what happens when you threaten one of our own. We stand together. Vectrin looked at the growing crowd with contempt, but also calculation. He could destroy them all, yes. But this was not yet an official invasion. The Galactic Council had rules about first contact. If he slaughtered civilians without provocation, there would be consequences even an emperor could not ignore. Lyra, he said, his voice now controlled. Come with me now, and I will spare these people. Refuse, and I will have no choice but to consider them hostile. The consequences will be severe. Lyra felt torn in two. If she went, her father would leave Earth alone. At least for now. She could buy them time. But she would lose everything she had found here. If she stayed, she put everyone she loved in danger. She looked at Daehyun, at Jiho, at Hana, at Suji, and Taeyang, and all the faces that had become dear to her. Then she stepped forward, past Daehyun's protective stance, and stood between her father and the people she loved. If you want to hurt them, she said clearly. The confrontation hung in the air like a blade about to fall. The silence stretched like glass about to shatter. Lyra stood between her father and the growing crowd of humans, her small frame somehow filling the space between two worlds. Her heart hammered against her ribs, but her feet stayed planted. Emperor Vectrin studied his daughter with an expression she could not read. Around them, more neighbors emerged from their homes. Word had spread through the community with remarkable speed. An old woman who ran the vegetable stand. A young couple from the apartment building next door. The owner of the noodle shop. They came without weapons, without aggression. But they came. Stand aside, Lyra, Vectrin said quietly. This is your last chance to do your duty. My duty is to protect people who cannot protect themselves, Lyra replied. Her voice shook, but she did not move. You taught me that a ruler's first responsibility is to their people. Well, these are my people now. One of the guards reached for his weapon. The crowd tensed. But before anything could happen, a new sound filled the air. Vehicles. Many of them. Black cars with tinted windows pulled up from both ends of the street, blocking the exits. Men and women in dark suits emerged. They moved with military precision, surrounding the area. At their center was an older woman, with sharp eyes and silver hair. She approached with confidence that matched even the Emperor's. Emperor Vectrin, she said in perfect Althan language. I am Director Han, of the Earth Defense Council. I believe we need to talk. Vectrin's eyes narrowed. You speak my language. We have been aware of your people for longer than you think. Did you truly believe Earth was as primitive as you assumed? Director Han smiled coldly. We let you think that. It was useful. 1. She gestured, and one of her people activated a device. Holographic displays appeared, showing images that made Vectrans stiffen. Althen ships in Earth orbit. Communications intercepts. Detailed maps of the planned invasion routes. We have been monitoring your activities for months, Director Han continued. Every report Lyra made to you, we recorded. Every movement of your scout ships, we tracked. You thought you were studying us. We were studying you. Impossible, Vectran said. Your daughter's mission was never as secret as you believed. But we let it continue because Lyra posed no threat. In fact, she has been quite helpful. She showed us that not all Althen are as cold as their empire. Lyra stared at Director Han in shock. You knew? This whole time? We knew. But we also knew you were just a child caught in circumstances beyond your control. We watched you struggle, grow, and ultimately choose kindness over duty. That told us something important about your species. You are not all the same. Vectran's composure cracked for just a moment. His perfect plan had been transparent from the start. The humans he had dismissed as primitive had been 3 steps ahead the entire time. You still cannot stop an invasion, he said, recovering his authority. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your military is scattered. You would be overwhelmed in days. Perhaps, Director Han conceded. But the Galactic Council tends to frown on unprovoked invasions of developing worlds, especially when we have documented evidence of your espionage activities, especially when several Council member species owe Earth significant favors from past assistance we have provided. She pulled up more displays. Treaties, alliance agreements, trade contracts. Earth had been busy making friends in the galaxy, quietly building relationships while pretending to be isolated. We may not be able to stop you, Director Han said. But we can make it costly. Economically, politically, diplomatically. Is Earth really worth making enemies of half the Galactic Council? Just Apper. Be Arcas, with content bod. Apper for. The calculation was clear on Vectran's face. He had expected an easy conquest. Instead, he had walked into a carefully laid trap of international relations and cosmic politics, but he was not ready to concede. You speak of cost. Let me show you cost. He raised his hand and his guards activated their weapons. Energy crackled in the air. The crowd gasped and moved back. But Lyra did not move. She deactivated her holographic disguise. Her true form emerged, blue skin, violet eyes, angular features. She looked small and fragile compared to her father's imposing presence. But she stood her ground. If you want to destroy them, she said loudly, you will have to destroy me first, and then explain to the Galactic Council why you murdered your own daughter to invade a protected world. Vectran stared at her. For the first time since arriving, real emotion crossed his face. Anger, frustration, and something that might have been pain. You would throw away everything for these people? Your title? Your future? Your family? They are my family, Lyra said simply. She turned and looked at Daehyun, at Jiho and Hana standing with their father, at Suji and Taeyang, at the neighbors who had welcomed a strange, quiet girl into their community. They taught me what family really means. Not duty, not blood, but choice, love, sacrifice. She turned back to her father. You sent me here to learn that humans are weak. I learned the opposite. They fall down and get back up. They fail and try again. They care for strangers. They stand up to emperors when protecting someone they love. If that is weakness, then I want to be weak. You speak like a child, Vectran said harshly. You do not understand the realities of power. No, father. You do not understand the realities of strength. Daehyun stepped forward to stand beside Lyra. Then Jiho and Hana joined them, then Suji, then Taeyang. One by one, the entire community formed a wall of bodies around her. "You can destroy us," Daehyun said to Vectrin. "You have the power, but Lyra is right. True strength is not about what you can destroy. It is about what you choose to protect." The Emperor looked at this ragtag collection of humans. No armies. No advanced weapons. Just ordinary people standing together, because one girl had become part of their community. It was absurd. It was illogical. It was impressive. Vectrin lowered his hand. The guards deactivated their weapons. Director Han watched carefully, her hand near her own weapon, but she did not move. "You have changed," Vectrin said to Lyra. His voice was quieter now, almost tired. "You are not the frightened girl I left here." "No," Lyra agreed. "I am not. You defy me. You choose them over your empire, over your own father. I do not choose them over you, father. I choose a different path than the one you laid out. Is that not what you wanted? For me to be strong?" For a long moment, Vectrin was silent. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed. It was a short, sharp sound, but genuine. "Perhaps I was wrong," he said. "Perhaps you did learn something important here." He looked at Director Han. "We will withdraw our invasion plans. For now. But Earth will be monitored. Any aggression toward the Althan Empire will be met with appropriate response." "Understood," Director Han said. "And any Althan aggression toward Earth will be reported to the Galactic Council." "I believe we understand each other," Vectrin nodded. Then he turned back to Lyra. "You have a choice to make, daughter. Come with me and return to your duties as princess. Or stay here with your humans and abandon your heritage entirely." Lyra felt her chest tighten. This was it, the final decision. But before she could answer, Vectrin continued. "However, there is a third option. Return with me, but as Earth's official ambassador to the Althan Empire. Represent these people at the Galactic Council. Use your position to build bridges instead of walls." Lyra stared at him in shock. "You would allow that? You said I taught you that a ruler's duty is to their people. Perhaps it is time I remembered that lesson myself." His expression softened, just slightly. "You have shown me that strength can take many forms. I may not agree with all of your choices, but I am proud of the person you have become." It was the first time her father had ever said he was proud of her. Lyra felt tears well up. She looked at Daehyun, silently asking for guidance. Daehyun smiled gently. "You do not need our permission, Lyra. You are your own person. Whatever you choose, you will always have a home here." "Always," Hana added, grabbing Lyra's hand. Lyra understood then what she had to do. Not choose one world over the other, but become a bridge between them. Use her position to protect Earth while bringing new ideas to her own people. "I accept," she said to her father. "I will return as Earth's ambassador, but I will visit here regularly. This is my home too." "Agreed," Vectrin said. He gestured to Director Han. "We will formalize the arrangements. My daughter will have diplomatic immunity and freedom of movement between our worlds." Director Han nodded. "Welcome to Earth's diplomatic corps, Lyra." The next hour was a blur of negotiations and arrangements. Documents were signed. Communications channels were established. The crowd slowly dispersed, satisfied that the danger had passed. Finally, as night fell, Lyra found herself back in the small room behind the store with Daehyun, Jiho, and Hana. Her father had returned to his ship to make arrangements. She would leave tomorrow, but now she knew she would come back. "I cannot believe this is happening," Hana said, wiping her eyes. "You are going to be an actual ambassador." "I am terrified," Lyra admitted. "I do not know how to do any of this." "You will learn," Jiho said. "Just like you learned everything else." One step at a time. Daehyun pulled her into a hug. We are so proud of you. You stood up to an emperor. You protected people you care about. You chose love over fear. That takes real courage. You taught me that, Lyra said, her voice muffled against his shoulder. All of you. You taught me everything that matters. That night, Lyra lay in her small apartment for the last time as a resident. Tomorrow, she would pack up her things, say goodbye to her school friends, and begin a new chapter. But this room, this tiny space above a convenience store, would always be special. This was where she learned to laugh, to cry, to fail, and try again, to love and be loved in return. Her communicator buzzed. A message from her father. Your mother would have been proud of you. She always believed strength came in many forms. I wish I had listened to her while she was alive. Perhaps it is not too late to start listening now. Lyra stared at the message for a long time. She had never known her mother. She had died when Lyra was an infant, but knowing her mother had thought differently, had believed differently, made Lyra feel less alone. 1 year later, Lyra stood in her apartment during one of her regular visits to Earth. The space was exactly as she had left it. Daehyun kept it ready for her. Fresh flowers on the table and clean sheets on the bed. She had just come from a Galactic Council meeting where she had successfully negotiated a cultural exchange program between Earth and 3 other species. Her confidence had grown. Her voice had strengthened. She was becoming the leader her father always wanted, just not in the way he expected. Downstairs, she could hear Hana arguing with Jiho about something silly. Daehyun was humming while he worked. The familiar sounds of home. Her communicator showed a message from her father. He was watching from his flagship in orbit, as he often did during her visits. You have changed our empire, daughter. Slowly, carefully, but changed it nonetheless. Young Althan now ask questions. They want to visit other worlds. They want to experience what you experienced. You have planted seeds of revolution with your gentleness. Lyra smiled and sent a reply. You taught me that a ruler shapes the future. I am just choosing what shape that future takes. She went downstairs where Hana immediately dragged her into the argument, demanding she settle who was right. Jiho offered her tea. Daehyun asked about her trip and really listened to her answer. This was family. This was home. Not because of blood or duty, but because of choice and love and the simple act of showing up for each other. Above them, in the cold vastness of space, Emperor Vectrin watched the warm lights of the small store. His daughter had taught him a lesson he never expected to learn. Sometimes the smallest, quietest revolution is the most powerful. He turned his ship toward home, already planning how to implement some of Lyra's suggestions for reform. His daughter was right. Strength came in many forms, and perhaps, just perhaps, the humans had been right all along. In the store below, Lyra laughed at one of Hana's jokes, the sound genuine and free. She was no longer the shy, frightened girl who had arrived in the rain 6 months ago. She was someone new, someone better. She was herself, and that was enough.